Hear that? Sounds like our delivery drone.
I'm on it.
Just, check the box underneath for the toolkit.
I swear to God, Andy, if it's empty again.
That was one time. Trust me, you'll be dicking around with landmines soon enough, Mac.
The siege of the town? My notes suggest it lasted for 2 weeks. How could that be?
Divine intervention.
Pardon me?
No, just the weather. Got in their way. Weeks of thick cloud cover blanketed the town.
I'm still not sure I follow.
It prevented the army from calling in Cass. Soon as that cleared, though, well, you know about the cluster strike. Good, toolkit's here. See you later, little buddy.
What's that?
Nothing, just talking to myself.
Okay, little buddy. Sure thing.
Hey, how are you getting on?
Not bad, not bad. Our gear's finally arrived from dispatch. I can start deactivating mines and leftover ordnance now.
Oh, right. And do you do that by hand?
Sure do. Crawl up close, identify it, and then just, disarm the thing.
I'm sure it's more involved than that.
Yeah, well, I may have skipped the part where, it can explode.
I've been meaning to ask, after NATO pulled out, when CSAT stepped in, how did that affect your work?
Day to day? I mean, CoinOps stepped up, but honestly, things are already sliding that way, even with NATO at the helm. For the most part, CSAT were mindful of our activities. Brutal, no doubt, but at least clinical. Whole thing felt like one big PR exercise for them. Gotcha. Well, you're one sneaky little bastard. Now, what were you hiding upstairs? There's an old photograph here. Picture of Alexis and his brother Marcos.
The civilian killed at the church. The landmine, right?
Yeah. Although honestly, it was a small miracle he'd made it that far.
Tell me more about Marcos.
Poor guy. He always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. He'd made it through the airstrike, but only to get caught up in the assault that followed right after.
There were still guerrillas in the town, even after the strike.
But Oreo Castro, it wasn't just a town. It had become a symbol of the resistance. It was important for both sides, and government forces were making their final push. Alexis had made it out, but his brother, like I say, Marcos was always shit out of luck. The guy had been waiting at his brother's place. Marcos left the ruins of his brother's home without a weapon, stumbled his way toward the church. An hour or two later, the government sent a truck to our camp. The soldiers searched the civilians for hidden weapons.
But they didn't find any.
No, and we'd already checked. It's vital our camps are weapon-free spaces, safe havens.
And Marcus, he must have made it through then.
Yeah, just about. We talked a few times after. I don't know, he seemed different.
I can imagine why. And what did he do after?
Hard to tell, but like I said, he kept looking for his brother.
Of course. And Marcus, his body, is still there in the churchyard?
Yeah. To think he survived all that just to return to the same spot less than a year later.
Nathan, you said that Alexis had been a recruit in the Altis Armed Forces.
Yeah, that's right.
So, his decision to leave the army, to join the guerrillas, do you know how that came about?
It's funny, I asked Marcos the same thing once. He just looked at me and shrugged. Later on, I heard their father had been killed in the Civil War, but I don't know. Whatever his reasons, Marcos seemed to have made peace with the fact he wouldn't change his brother's mind. If there's one thing I remember about Alexis, it was the guy's pickup truck. Thing made a hell of a racket.
And his brother, wasn't he a mechanic? Why wouldn't he fix it?
Oh, believe me, he tried. But that was Alexis, stubborn as a mule. NATO's been busy. Even managed to clear out a few mines.
Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't IDAP and NATO share some common goals? The training, for example. The laws of armed conflict?
Sorta. It's a tough one, actually. It was important we didn't overstep the mark.
You had to be impartial.
Precisely. In a conflict, we have to remain neutral, pertinent to all parties, even those that personally we may object to.
You mentioned that IDAP worked with a local mechanic. How did that come about?
Hollywood might call it serendipity, but I don't know. He just saved our ass one time, and then another, and so the story goes. There wasn't much special about his setup, but guy knew the difference between a crankshaft and a tire iron.
He was good at what he did then.
There wasn't much he couldn't fix. Never asked for a receipt, though, if you know what I mean. Do you know Mark Cole, Kate?
Our foreign correspondent, yes, of course.
I met him out here just before the ceasefire failed.
That sounds about right. Mark's been toing and froing since the coup back in 26.
Special type, too. Very distinctive.
Remnants of the firefight. The one you've been telling me about.
That's right.
And Alexis. He'd been there.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just met a guy claiming to have known him.
So, this firefight, it was... Just let me check the calendar. 8 days ago?
Yeah. Day of the NATO invasion. After the flashpoint on Stratus, there was chaos. Nobody seemed to know what to do. Finally, NATO got their act together, launched it.
And CSAT?
Caught off guard by the whole thing. They were there to fight guerrillas, not start World War III. So when CSAT dropped their support, government forces panicked. They were on the back foot. Needed to regroup. Major Gavras was put in charge, but it was a tall order. Gavras tried to fortify their position in the northwest, but it was a risk, and he ended up cut off. The guerrillas, they didn't hesitate, stormed its position, sent the survivors running.
Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, how did you come to hear this?
Kostas Dimitri, the lieutenant, and the major's adjutant. Along with Gavras, the two of them were trying to make it to the helipad.
Move 200 meters. Front.
You say they were trying to make it.
Mm-hmm. NATO took it out.
How?
Fast forward. Halfway. West.
Tank buster. At that point, they had air supremacy. Caught it on the hop.
Did they have another plan?
Not exactly, but they decided to make a stand at the church.
Move 200 meters. Front. Gunship. 200 meters. Right flank.
And the major, what sort of a man was he? Was he respected?
Yeah, I mean, his reputation wasn't bloodied in the Civil War. Gavras was his own man, knew when to follow orders and when to adapt them.
Not the type to violate LOAC, then.
Well, that's a gray area. In the course of the firefight, the major used a mine dispenser. You can think of it like a portable minefield. This thing throws 14 mines as much as 50 feet, spread out across a wide arc of fire in front of it.
And they're designed to maim rather than kill.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. They can still be lethal. The Major ordered Custis to place mines too. I guess it made sense for him to target the point of entry, choke points, you know.
Found an explosive.
They scattered the mines and sat tight, waiting for the enemy. Facing those kind of odds, it was the only thing they could do.
Clear. Enemy! Dimigiero! Attack that rifleman! Contact rifleman! Contact rifleman! Contact medic! He's down! Contact soldier! Contact man! Dimigiero! Fire at that soldier! Just up ahead! Contact man! Dimigiero! Engage that man! Move
Finally, the
300
message
meters
came.
back!
Second helo was inbound.
They dispatched another.
Yeah, it was a risk, sure, but government forces were in free fall and the Major was important. They just had to get to a different LZ before reinforcements turned up and cut them off.
I've got him!
Loads of guys got injured. The mines, they'd done their job.
I've got to count them. A capacity to hurt one another. It never fails to surprise.
Contact, rifleman!
I see a mine.
Clear. Hostiles! Dimitiero, just up ahead.
Car, 75 meters, front.
Grenade! There's a mine here. Contact, man.
Talk to me about the Major. What happened when he returned? Did he survive?
Yeah, he did. He's pretty much the reason NATO's invasion lasted 3 days instead of 1. You heard about the fierce fighting at Karakori, right?
Yes, a colleague of mine covered that, actually.
Well, that was Gavris. He held the line till the government capitulated. And now, actually, he's involved in the peace process.
Dimitiero, board that vehicle.
How did your paths cross? I'm still a little unclear.
Oh, Lieutenant Demetriou. He came to IDAP, to our camp. The AAF provided us with information on the mines. The guy was a wreck, but his training had kicked in. He documented the minefields. Well, as best he could. But for Marcos, it was already too late. He'd already found one. Poor bastard.
Did Costas explain what happened to the others? Those wounded by the mines in the firefight?
No, he got out of there pretty quick from the sounds of it. Andy, though, my colleague here, he reckons some of them were rescued by a NATO response team.
Okay. You've mentioned Alexis was with the guerrillas. Do you know what became of him?
No, his fate's unknown, but I can only imagine he's dead, buried somewhere. Some unmarked grave like so many others.
Honestly, Nathan, all this information, it's a godsend. You've given me loads to work with here.
It's nothing, really.
Now, there's just one last question I'd like to ask you. It's subjective, so take your time.
Sure. Fire away.
In your opinion, who's most to blame for all the suffering in Orio Castro? NATO? The guerrillas? CSAT? The Altis Armed Forces? Or, I don't know, something else? So, these leaflets, they were a warning to the town.
Yeah, they confirmed the offensive. But maybe they were just sick of all the extra paperwork. These leaflets, they were dropped maybe a day before the fighting began.
Do you happen to remember it well? The airstrike, I mean.
Yeah. October 13th. Cluster bomb. Town was shook up pretty bad. They scattered the mines and sat tight, waiting for the enemy. Facing those...
You've seen things from both sides. I mean, now as an NGO, too.
I've seen a few things. Heard stories. You gotta remember it was pretty chaotic back then. All those competing factions, people just disappeared. I'd have to say... I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it's quite so black and white. It's more black and gray. Hell, gray and gray, No one side can be held accountable for the bloodshed here. No one action got us where we are now. I don't know. What can we do? Just double down on our efforts. Heal the wounds. And the folks here in Orio Castro, they're the ones that have suffered. This is the reality. This is war.
I'd still live with the statistic, Kate. That's your hope.
Okay. I'm using the mind as a metaphor now. Buried and forgotten. Thoughts?
Sounds legit. I kept that sentence on the scars, though. Sounds too anatomical. Show, don't tell, remember?
Right. And here, US Marine Corps, not USMC?
Marine Corps. And our angle?
Last paragraph. I moved it down a bit. Figured you'd want to conclude on that.
No sword of Damocles, please. Remember, we're creating a space, defining the boundaries. Let our readers fill the gaps. Perfect. Think about the pull quotes. I'll be back in 10. Got to tell Bartleby his story's spiked.
Thanks, Guy. Hey, Nathan. I have a link for you. It's to my article. Be gentle. It's a draft. My editor's running it by legal as we speak.
Oh, right, yeah, the mines. I've still got work to do here.
Of course. Okay, well, thanks again for everything. Should I let you get on, or...?
I don't mind talking. Maybe I can tell you a bit more about the town. Hey, it's me.
Hello. Did I hear correctly? You're on the move?
Yeah, next job. Some truck hit an AT mine yesterday. Little ways out from here, I said we'd check up on it.
Okay. I'll not keep you. Thanks again. And good luck out there, Nathan. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Kate.